Hello, I'm your host John Hartley and welcome to a conversation about Two Brothers Walking. I'm joined today by filmmaker David Sullivan. David has just finished filming Two Brothers Walking. G'day, sir.
G'day, John. Good to be here.
Good to see you. And David, you've just completed a documentary film, Two Brothers Walking. Where are you at with that?
Well, we've just finished it's just about complete. We're just waiting on the final mix down for the audio. Composition has been done for the score, and so we're just getting ready now to promote it through film festivals, both locally and abroad. We're hoping for a good response. It's very positive so far.
It's exciting times.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So if I was to ask you, David, from a filmmaking perspective and having travelled with this film, I think over 4 years and some 30,000 Ks,
Yeah.
what is it, do you think this film, this documentary is saying to us?
Well, John, I've thought about this a lot, and there's many answers to the question. So I'm going to say what I feel right now, because it has brought up many different things, and I think what has crystallised for me is the sense that the soul of Australia actually has to do with the culture that's been here for tens of thousands of years and has been maintained and expressed by Aboriginal people all around this country. And it's something that is still there, it's still alive. And by the same token, it's something that whitefellas, myself included, although I consider myself very fortunate, but it's something that we have very few ways of really accessing that culture unless you have a personal connection or you're born into it. It's very difficult for to learn anything about it, and it's an important thing for us as Australians to do, I think.
So, David, you've crisscrossed the country, north, south, east, and west, and you've had an opportunity to sit in Aboriginal country in the Western Desert regions with Anangu.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It's a privilege, really, to be on country where the traditional owners of the country, and the first thing that you realise is that it just doesn't work the same way that Western worldviews work. The sense of a totally different way of living and being and connecting with country and with life is happening there. I mean, that's the thing that I've struggled to bring through, to learn really in the first instance and bring through in the story. But something that Murray George has said quite often is about how the aim one of the aims of living a good life in Aboriginal society, I suppose, is to become a full human being, to experience freedom. And these are it took me some time to think about and to really get a sense of what is meaning. And they're important conversations for everyone, I think, regardless of your cultural background.
So the film, you think, is targeted to a specific audience, or you think it's multi-pronged?
Yeah, look, John, I think it's important for everyone, really, every Australian in particular. Though my sense is that a lot of people abroad are going to be interested in it as well. So it's a film for anyone who has an interest in Aboriginal culture or different cultures from the Western worldview generally, and it's for people who appreciate that connection to country. I think
it's a story that's not often. Well, it's an experience rather that the many people in Australia don't get to see, or even, in fact, know about. There
That's
seems to be this invisible blanket
Yeah.
when it comes to Anangu or Aboriginal people with this continuous culture and lifeways that goes back.
Yeah, look, it's that's why I say I consider myself fortunate, John, because there's very few ways of really connecting with that culture. First of all, you know, in most places the influence of colonisation has meant that a lot of those lifeways have either disappeared or gone to sleep. Unlike the central desert area, where it's still alive and has always been alive. In fact, it hasn't gone through a period it hasn't been. It's been a continuous experience, as you say, in the Western Desert.
But it's not to say it hasn't been impacted.
Oh,
and quite
right.
severely in some
Yeah,
places.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but there's some things that haven't changed, and that has to do with the things that connect. You know, the things that make up the Aboriginal worldview. I would say are, you know, they continue in the Central Desert in a very full way. You know, with ceremony and song and story and social organisation and language, and you know, all those things are still intact there. It struck me most of all when I went my first experience into an Aboriginal community in the Northern Territory. I got off the plane and no one was there to meet me. I was meeting a friend, but they were busy at the time, and everyone was speaking this different language, and literally I was shocked in the first instance that people didn't speak English. And at that moment I knew that Australia wasn't the place that I thought it was.
So you've had an opportunity to perhaps dispel the myths, I guess.
Well, yes. That's a big question. I don't know how many myths have been dispelled. It's been working out what the myths are in the first instance, I think.
Yeah.
You know, and it just never occurred to me that I would go to a place in Australia where English, you know, wasn't a language that people normally used every day. But since then, of course, I've been to many places where English is not the dominant language.
Well,
That's
often maybe the third, fourth, or fifth, or sixth
yes,
language.
absolutely. Yeah.
You come to English. Eh?
And in some places, people don't speak it at all. That's the thing that struck me most.
And that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
It's a
absolutely
healthy
thing.
It's
yeah.
a healthy thing.
Yeah.
So, given this experience you've had, what value do you see that it holds for, let's mainstream Australia?
Yeah, look, John, that's a difficult question for me because I think I was drawn into it through curiosity, in my own personal curiosity in the first instance, or that has always been there. The value for everybody, look, it really means that we can get to know this country that we live in. You know, we tend to in the cities and so on live on top of the country, you know, without really putting, in fact we put a layer of concrete or asphalt between ourselves and the country, you know. But insulate ourselves in a way from what's really there. And you know, in the early days it was really a European worldview or an English or British worldview that people were living. And in a lot of ways we haven't yet met the heart of Australia. The soul of Australia is still there for us to discover, and that's probably one of the things that I hope people may get a sense of through our documentary, Two Brothers Walking.
Good. It's been great having a yarn with you today, Sal.
Thanks, John.
And I'm sure we'll see more of you in the future.
Likewise.
And thanks again.